The affordable collector collects for meaning, not value. And the best value are projects that tell a story. The greatest story of all is, of course, the story of baseball. And in this binder here, I have the story of baseball as told through the Baseball Hall of Fame. In this binder, I've collected a card of every single member of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. From the early players and early executives, all the way to the present. And in putting together this collection, I was able to learn about just who some of these people were. For the early cards, I have to collect reprints. Here we have some of the first tobacco cards, the old Judge cards, Allen and Ginter, Goodwin Champions, T206 cards, also tobacco cards, but out 1909. Again, these are reprints. You know, these cards would cost me tens of thousands of dollars. I just don't have that in the budget right now. So reprints help me to remember some of these fellas. Some of their names are forgotten by casual baseball fans. But when I get their card, I look them up and read about them, learn about the early history of the game and who they were. So it's a great vehicle for that. Reprint of Babe Ruth rookie from 1915. This is the Sporting News collection, commemorating some of the great dead ball era players. I think this is the first set dedicated to children. The Cracker Jack cards. Beautiful set. '33 Gaudy Babe Ruth. They made 4 Babe Ruth cards in that set. There's 3 of them. Iconic Lou Gehrig card. Nap Lajoie, a rare card. He was no longer playing. Good story behind that card. 1934 Luke Appling. Frankie Frisch, more on him later, corrupter of the Hall of Fame. '33 Gaudy cards. Very cool images, all reprints, but these are great pieces of Americana. And it'll tell the story of baseball. 1930s, probably overly represented in the Hall of Fame. And not all of them belong, certainly. Looking at you, Chick Hafley, however you say your name. These are cards of Negro League players. 36 Negro League players are in the Hall of Fame. Now, they didn't make cards of Negro League players in the era. So to collect these cards, you know, they have some memorial cards that they've put out through the years. But what I had to do is I had to custom make some of these cards, and you saw some examples of that earlier with the 19th century. So, you know, with images like these, I just looked for an image online, designed it onto a card, printed it up, cut it out. On the back, I wrote a little biography of them, helped me kind of learn about them. Did that with some of these other cards too. It's kind of fun designing them and learning about the players. Again, there have been some Negro League sets that have been put out, but either too far and too few between, or not including everyone, or being kind of expensive. So Eva Manley, the only woman in the Hall of Fame. Buck O'Neill made the Negro Leagues famous, at least for my generation. Back into the segregated major leagues. These are kind of memorial cards of some players. Again, trying to collect one card of every Hall of Famer. There's two brothers right there in the Hall of Fame. Only two brothers. From memorial cards, some of these guys, again, I had never really heard of. But as you collect their cards, you learn about the game in these different eras. This page right here is an example of, you know, some people argue that the Hall of Fame has become watered down in recent years, and maybe it has, but this is a reminder that it's always been watered down. I call this the Frankie Frisch page. A number of these players were put in by the Veterans Committee led by Frankie Frisch, and probably didn't belong in the Hall of Fame. So the Hall of Fame's been watered down for a long time. That's not a new phenomenon. Here's some of the executives in the Hall of Fame. Number of executives. So making these cards, I got to learn about some of these early presidents and commissioners and owners and people who invented the general manager position, created the union. Some of them have actual cards, but like Bud Selig, for example, I think I saw he had a card, but it was like $5, and I just don't want to pay for that for Bud Selig, so I made my own. Any Hall of Fame collection, to be complete, has to include the umpires. Very few of them have cards. These are all custom made. This Jocko Conlon right here is a reference to the 1955 Bowman set, which did include some umpires. I think that's the only time I ever included them. This is 1941 play ball. Some of the most beautiful baseball cards ever made, in my opinion. Great grandstand right there behind Charlie Gehringer. Famous Joe DiMaggio card. Again, still reprints. I would love to own some of these cards, but you know, again, they'd be tens of thousands of dollars to own all these cards. And so here I get to have them in my collection. I can learn about them. I can look at them. Bobby Doerr, love that image. Almost like a watercolor back there. Getting into the post-war, here we have 1949 Bowman. That Satchel Paige card right there was a 1990s Bowman era card that sort of had that, and I cut it out and put it on there. Put it in my binder. So this is what, 1950 Bowman. Great art that they were doing in this era. Really cool Yogi Berra card. No names on them, so sometimes you gotta kind of look at the back to figure out who they are. But you don't have to look at the back of that one though. So yeah, there's some of the names. I like how the reprint cards kind of keep the backs as they originally looked. They all say reprints. I'm not trying to fool anybody here. This is 51 Bowman, most famous for the Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays rookie cards. 52 Bowman. Some examples of cards that, I mean, these could be in a museum. Look at that art. Great stuff. All right, here comes Topps. So, yeah, reprints, of course, but just beautiful cards. I think if I could afford an old vintage card, I'd probably go with that Jackie. once I get into this era, I start collecting 2 or 3 examples of players. This 53 top set is just beautiful. All right, last page of reprints for those of y'all over the reprints. Hank Aaron rookie reprint. Larry Doby, Roberto Clemente, Mickey Mantle. Really love that Roberto Clemente card. If I could afford a card from this era, I might get that one. Sandy Koufax, Brooks Robinson, early cards, again, reprints. Getting here into 1960 tops. These are authentic cards, so no longer reprints. 1960, 61, 62. Some of these cards are pretty beat up, but that's, if they still look aesthetically pleasing, then I include them in my collection. 63, 64, 1965, 66, getting into some airbrushing there on the hat. Jim Hunter with the Kansas City Athletics, early Phil Negro card. Several of these cards I got when I was a child. There was an older gentleman, I think my dad was friends with him, who had collected as a child and was no longer interested in his cards. Knew that I would enjoy them, so he just gifted them to me. And I certainly have enjoyed them ever since. So several of these come from his collection that I've had in my collection since I was a child. So that's how I'm able to have some of these 1960s cards as an affordable collector. I usually don't spend more than, most I'll spend on a card is $15 to $20. But my normal is I won't go over $5. So whichever card's in here over any of those, I probably got when I was in that childhood collection. He collected in the mid-60s to the 60s and early 70s. And again, you know, I like to put, you may have noticed this, that I collect in multiples of 3. And so I think they look really good when you have one set on a page. That's my first earliest rookie card of a Hall of Famer, Ted Simmons. Not too expensive. Of course, a lot of rookie cards of Hall of Famers can be quite expensive, but others are not. So kind of fun to collect the ones that are affordable. I really like the photography from this year. A Roberto Clemente card. That's his last card. Hunting card, one of my favorites. Great Brooks Robinson card there, fielding. I wanted to include these cards because these records were about to fall in this era. Of course, Pete Rose was coming after Ty Cobb's record. Hank Aaron after Babe Ruth. A couple guys coming after Walter Johnson. Most notably, Nolan Ryan would take it. I also love Topps All-Star rookie cards of a Hall of Famer. So if I can collect those, I like to do that. 74. My first Nolan Ryan card. I was a collector of his, being a Ranger fan. It's his earliest Ranger card. Love that Juan Marichal card. That big leg kick, looked pretty cool. 1975, the year of my birth. Very beautiful looking set here. Some people love it, some people hate it. I like that Purple 11 card right there, blowing a bubble. Frank Robinson, the first African-American manager. I think that's the last Harmon Killebrew card. Love the photography from 1976. Something's really appealing about it. Young George Brett, that Nolan Ryan card, he looks pretty cool right there. That Johnny Bench card might be one of the coolest cards from the 1970s. Some more Topps All-Star rookie cards of Hall of Famers. I read that a Topps photographer was told to take photos of players in shadow because it made them look more rugged. I'll let you be the judge if that was a good call, but you really see it on that set. 78. 2 Rookies of the Year, future Hall of Famers. Eddie Murray and Andre Dawson. Jim Rice cracking up in shadow. Reggie Jackson now with the New York Yankees. So as I try to collect 2 or 3 cards of each player, you know, if they change teams, I'll try to get a card. I also focus on, you know, what's the most aesthetically pleasing of their cards. So, you know, if the card looks cool, that's the card that I want to have. Getting into the 1980s. I talked about some players who don't belong in the Hall of Fame. Of course, Harold Baines is the modern example of that, but as a result, you can get his rookie card for about $2. I always really liked that Rickey Henderson card. I think that's one of the cooler cards of the 1980s, although there's a number of candidates for that. 1983 Topps, when the relievers all thought it'd be cool to have facial hair. I guess the position players didn't have the facial hair. The relievers wanted to look intimidating. Lee Smith. So, yeah. 1985 Topps. I like to keep Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs together. Those are 2 great, 2 of the greatest hitters of all time. And again, kind of what card looks the coolest? You know, what's a Wade Boggs card that's not the most expensive card? Which one looks the best? I think that's one of the coolest. Same thing with Tony Gwynn. Same thing with Ryan Sandberg and Kirby Puckett. I don't have their rookie cards, but I think these cards look better than their rookie cards. Rickey Henderson now with the Yankees. Gary Carter and Carlton Fisk, 2 great catchers, both with new teams. I started collecting in 1987, and old-timey players like Don Sutton or Bill Niekro. I liked looking at the back of their cards and seeing all the years they had played. Similar thing with Reggie Jackson. He was retiring right as I was starting to collect, and they would sort of commemorate his career. Kind of got me into baseball history just by seeing these players that had been around for so long. Tom Glavine rookie card. The Tommy Lasorda cards always cracked me up. So, true junk wax stuff, but some of these cards are just really cool. Roberto Alomar rookie card. Fred McGriff. Just looking up, dreaming about his career. Better looking card than his rookie card, which I have. But in here, I try to include the cards that are kind of the best looking cards, in my opinion. I like face shots of players. Randy Johnson, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. His rookie card right there. Ken Griffey Jr., Topps All-Star rookie card. You know, it's not worth very much, but I think that is just one cool card. Eddie Murray, now with the Dodgers. All right. Great looking Wade Boggs card right there. Again, what's the best looking card? I would argue that that's one of the best looking Greg Maddox's, one of the best looking Frank Thomas cards, one of the best looking Edgar Martinez cards, another Topps All-Star rookie card, Chipper Jones first draft pick, more Topps All-Star rookie cards of Hall of Famers, Jeff Bagwell, Ivan Rodriguez, Andre Dawson now with the Cubs, Rain's new team. Darley Pedro with the Dodgers. Jack Morris had sort of a late career push with the Blue Jays. I think that's one of the best looking Ken Griffey Jr. cards. Carlton Fisk still going strong. Great swing of Fred McGriff. Nolan Ryan last card. Roberto Alomar with his brother sliding into second base. That was pretty cool. So, yeah. What's the best looking card? I think that Derek Jeter has a Topps All-Star rookie in this era. It just doesn't look like a great card, so I don't include it. Paul Mall there with the Twins. Jim Tomei looks like he just hit 500 million feet. Wade Boggs now with the Yankees here. Like to keep Boggs and Gwynn together if I can. Adrian Beltre rookie card, or at least his first solo rookie card. Pedro Martinez at the peak of his powers. David Ortiz rookie card. So Scott Rowland, Gary Larkin, good looking cards. Got to keep the Braves rotation together right there, to one of the greatest rotations in history. Joe Mauer rookie card. Mike Piazza now with the Mets. Randy Johnson with the Diamondbacks. Again, so as players move around to other teams, I get those cards of them. So in the early eras, I might only have one card of players. But these players who, I got to watch, try to have about 2 or 3, maybe 3 different cards of each of them. Especially as they change teams and go through different parts of their careers. Always focusing on what are some of the best looking cards. So, yeah. One of the newest members of the Hall of Fame. Some last cards. So again, in this binder, I have 1 card of every single Hall of Famer. It was a fun collection to put together to see who they all were. Learn about players who might not otherwise have known about. Collecting reprints, you also get to learn about some of these old sets. Several of them I had to hand make, but this little binder here gives me my own little history of baseball and my own little Cooperstown. Thank you for watching.